Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 1 of our AEW 2022 save in TEW 2020. And no need to adjust your set, your YouTube channel. You're not on the wrong one. This isn't me putting in an AEW episode in the middle of what should be episode number 70 of our WWE 2021 save, which I promise is coming soon enough. I am hard at work on that, and as you guys know, been a little up and down in terms of the consistency with our WWE 2021 save in recent months. Work has just been a bit of a grind, really since the start of this year, going back to January, and so, but I've decided that I want to kind of take things in a different direction. And kind of pursue some different ideas and not to do it at the detriment of the WWE 2021 series, which is still going to be the one that I'm trying to put the most focus into. But as you guys know, if you've played this game, if you've done one of these series on YouTube, sometimes you can just kind of hit a wall. And the problem with the WWE save is not that I've done that creatively, because again, I pretty much have everything booked until WrestleMania, at least in my notes, but there's not as much of a challenge, and really the only challenge is me coming up with ideas. Whereas if I play a game with AEW, the challenge is that I'm trying to chase WWE. I have something to aim for, whereas WWE, there's nowhere to go but down. AEW, there's really a chance to how do we become the number one company, and that is going to be the goal of this series. And I've decided to start this one. It's going to be a little bit different, and we're going to go through, this is the introduction, as you've seen with some of the other series I've done, but this is kind of the introduction to that. So we're going to jump into it, and as I said, if you followed this channel and everything for the WWE 2021 save, that's not going anywhere. I'm still going to be doing that one. That was still, like my baby. That's the one that kind of started all of this, and we're still going to be doing that one. And as I said, the interval just may change sometimes, but I just need something kind of different to sink my teeth into, and that's why I'm going to start this AEW 2021 save, just to have some fun with it. And again, what I love about TEW 2020 is that there's just so many different ideas that are going in your head as you're playing through a series. And as I've been playing through the WWE one, I'm thinking, boy, look how poorly booked AEW is on the other side, knowing that I have no competition at all in the WWE 2021 save. So let's flip that a little bit, and let's make AEW kind of perhaps the company that's really chasing WWE and putting that pressure on them, and we're going to try to do that in this save. So to start off with here, you see our popularity. What I did, I'm using the same mod, that I used for the WWE 2021 save. And what did you know? When we started, I think we started in June of 2021, didn't we? So here we are a year later, starting in June of 2022. And what I did was that mod is not going to, I think, be updated until July again, and the last update was in March. So I went in manually, tweaked a lot of things, but not a ton, because again, I'd rather just play it as it lies, if that makes sense. I didn't tweak a lot, but I did make some changes in terms of having people added to the roster in AEW. I certainly took Cody Rhodes, who I think at the time was not actually on a contract in AEW, at least in the mod, and I, of course, added him to WWE. So he's there now. I made some changes, took out a lot of the people who had been fired by WWE, put them where they needed to go. For example, Samoa Joe has been added to the AEW roster. Even as recently as Athena, who at Double or Nothing come in, she's been added now. So the actual roster of AEW has kind of been set as of now. Like right after Double or Nothing is when I decided, I kind of had this idea, but I'm thinking I'd rather wait till after Double or Nothing to do this, because I'd like to have a nice starting point. So made those changes. You'll see that with the roster, but this is one of those areas with the overall company popularity I really didn't touch. So you can kind of argue whether you think this is too high, too low, whatever, but we're just going to play it as is. And as of right now, we're in the 60s. And it's a much different when I look at this and I think of where we are in our WWE one. But this is going to make it fun because it's going to be a challenge. So we're at the 60s here. We have to get to 77. We know in terms of being, medium. And obviously we can't drop down either. We don't want to do that. So I think that this, again, will give me something to aim towards. Whereas in the WWE one, there's really no aim. It's just coming up with fun storylines. And again, that's not a knock on it, but I kind of like to play it both ways sometimes. And I think this will provide more of a challenge in doing that. So getting to 77, that's not something we're going to do, in a couple weeks. That's going to take some time. So that's where we're at on that. And again, we'll get more into that as we go along. Speaking of looking at it, WWE, from their standpoint, they probably, depending on what they do show-wise, and if you remember, in our WWE 2021 save, we dropped down immediately because I don't remember exactly where it was set at, but we dropped down immediately, fell, in the ratings. I don't remember what it was. Maybe we were big and then we immediately fell to medium. I'm not sure how it went, but here they are. Basically, they just got a chance to rise up pretty quickly here, and so we'll see if they make that jump depending on what their booking looks like. But that's where they're at right now. So let's jump into some of the other stuff. If we look at, kind of our title situation, as I said, I made everything right after Double or Nothing. So, of course, Jade Cargill's still the TBS champion. Scorpio Sky, the TNT champion. Women's World Champion is Thunder Rosa. Still, AEW World Champion is CM Punk, so I did make that move after Double or Nothing. By the way, I tried to manually change the AEW title lineage, and I kind of messed it up the first time. But for some reason it has Jericho listed up here. We're just going to ignore that. So we're going to start the lineage from here to here, and that's kind of what we're going to look at. But Punk is the champion, and I know I'm actually recording this after Punk announced the injury or whatever it was, but still the champion, and he's going to be our champion here. And I know it says current 2-time champion, but we just have to ignore some of this because, it's one of those things where I kind of mess up the lineage, but that's not going to be a big part of our series anyways. Jurassic Express still there. FTW is still Ricky Stark. So that's kind of the title situation, what you would expect as things stand. On the stables front, I did add some of the ones that were not in here, and again, I know will be in the next updated mod, whenever that is, and I think it's July. As I said, I was kind of looking at that on the forums, but Blackpool Combat Club is in there, as is the Jericho Appreciation Society, and I will say this too, because I mentioned this in the other kind of looking at it, but this will again be a series kind of like the WWE, where some things will be, kind of a launching point from what's actually happening in AEW right now as we start this series. Other stuff will kind of just be its own thing. So don't kind of view this as something necessarily that we're just starting to where my week 1 in June will be basically copying what exactly happened, maybe on the previous television show for AEW. It's just going to kind of be our own little world here. So there will be some things we add in that are actually going on in reality. Some things will just kind of start anew and won't necessarily play into anything going on AEW television. So kind of just it's a fresh starting point, and that's kind of the way to look at it. So don't look at this as though we're just going to immediately pick up where things left off on, even at Double or Nothing. There will be some things coming out of Double or Nothing we'll certainly mention, and that will be kind of a starting point, but not everything will be kind of consumed by that. It will you'll have different stories that will branch off and start immediately that maybe have nothing to do with anything you've seen on AEW television. Now let's look at the roster, and my goodness, it's a big roster. I was comparing rosters actually, and I think as of, I looked at it here, I think AEW has 166 wrestlers. Maybe that's too high in terms of the number. I don't mean that it is too high, in my opinion, but I think it was 166. And I think WWE has 135. So pretty wild to look at that. And I think that was just main roster maybe for WWE, but there is a lot of people on this roster. And I think that is something we're going to have to look at as we move forward here, because if we really kind of look at this, and I want to point this out, we're going to start with Major Star, which of course you've got this group here, which you would expect, right? But beyond that, you've got your Star group, which again, pretty nice group of talent here, and these are some of our top stars. But then, if you kind of look on down, well known, again, nice little group here, but you're about to see why I'm doing this. And we look at recognizable. I mean, this is where you start to see, like, recognizable. There's a lot of people in there. And some of those I think we'll be pushing pretty well. But then, like, if we look at unimportant, all of this, I mean, there's a lot of people in here that I don't know exactly what we're going to do with, because it's just going to be something where I don't necessarily want to release anyone, but I think at some point we're going to have to, because we just got a huge roster. And when we look at our TV, what I decided to do, I got rid of AEW Dark Elevation. I can't, there's no way I'm going to book 2 B shows each week. I can't do it, guys. Again, for me, just booking 2 WWE shows every week is tough. But I kept Dark, and what I'm going to do is we're going to tape 4 episodes at a time. So I'm going to do all the Dark tapings, once a month. And I'll just put all that in, and we'll kind of go over that in the series. Like, I'm not going to make any special AEW Dark episodes or anything like that. But we will kind of put that, I'll give you the results. We'll kind of run it down, all that stuff. Of course, Dynamite is going to be on a show, Rampage, 1 hour. What I am going to do, and it's going to be a little bit different, and I know some people call for this in the WCW 1998 save, which, by the way, now that I've kind of been tweaking some things in terms of database and having some fun, I may bring that one back, because I've kind of made some tweaks that I think may actually make WCW 1998 a savable save. Is that the best way to put it? So I may bring that back at some point eventually too, because again, my mind just goes all over the place. I like playing different things, different eras, but I also want to try to keep it consistent for you guys, and I know that has not been a strong suit on the WWE one, but that's what I like to do. So what I am going to do is we're not going to have separate episodes for Dynamite and Rampage. They will be in the same episode each time, and so you don't have to, you don't have to worry about that. We're not going to do a quick, short episode or anything for Rampage unless it's warranted. Unless there's like a special, which we will do probably. A Rampage Grand Slam, stuff like that. If it's a big special event, we will do a separate episode. But for now, we'll time into both. So each episode will have a Dynamite and a Rampage. Again, knowing that Rampage is only an hour. So we are going to do that, and you see kind of some of the stuff here. What we are also going to do is we will have some of these specials. Now, a lot of these specials, whether it's a Beach Break, Fyter Fest, which, by the way, if we do Fyter Fest, we're not going to do 2 nights. We'll do 1 night. Some of this other stuff, like we're not going to have AEW Rampage the first dance. We're going to get rid of that because, you can't do that again, right? Punk can't come back again. And then, like, for example, Winter's Coming. These will be events separate from Dynamite. Like, we may do these like on a Saturday or something, and I'll have a couple of those lined up. I don't have it set yet, but I've already got things in motion. We're going to do Road Rager just like AEW's doing. That will be, I think it's going to be week 3 in June, maybe. So that's going to be our first kind of, I don't want to call it a big event. Like, it's not a huge event, but it's going to kind of be your special event. I know those are kind of, in reality, they are segmented into Dynamite, but these are going to have to be separate just because we can't actually do that here. So we will probably put those like on a Saturday, so it'll be like a special event that we can do. So just as a heads up on that. And so that'll kind of give us more of those kind of special, shows in between the big 4 pay-per-views, or really the only 4 pay-per-views, Revolution, Double or Nothing, All Out, and Full Gear. So Road Rager, we'll have that coming up soon. But I just wanted to make a mention of that too. So that's kind of our TV schedule. And everything. If you want to kind of see where things are at creatively, here you go. Punk, Danielson, Omega, Moxley, Jericho, your top 5 there. Looking at the franchise players. If we look at our next big things, Sammy Guevara, AQA, Abaddon, all there. Hot prospects, Penelope, AQA, Sammy, Kip Sabian, Red Velvet. So that's kind of the group there. And then if you want to look at momentum, Britt Baker, good momentum, Jade, Paige, MJF, Miro, good. No one who has bad momentum right now. So that's kind of where everything stands on that. And by the way, too, I did use a different skin for this particular save to kind of give you a visual, something a little bit different than what we have in the WWE one. So that's that. Teams, my goodness. You want to talk about a contrast in our WWE save? You guys know sometimes I am like just trying to find teams to put together. that is not going to be a problem in AEW. And I'm kind of excited about this challenge because I love having a great tag team division, and boy, this is one that I don't know how much better it could be in terms of all the different teams we have in here. So we will certainly play around with that, and we'll have a lot of fun with kind of where things stand with that. And I'm trying to see what else we have here to look at, because this is the introduction. If you're watching this, you probably you know what AEW is, and you don't really need a lot of background in that. But if you want to kind of see where things stand in terms of the company wars, of course WWE's 1, we're 2, NJPW, all that, and honestly, like, we're not going to do the Forbidden Door pay-per-view right away. It's just not something that I think we're going to set up necessarily. It's just too quick for me. I need a little time to kind of build things the way I want to build it. But we may do the Forbidden Door pay-per-view at some point. And I have a feeling we will do that, knowing that we do have the relationship with New Japan and all that. And so I think that is certainly something to consider. But for now, just as a note, we will not have that Forbidden Door pay-per-view in June like AEW has. We will do it at some point. And that'll kind of be fun to do. So that is where things stand on that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we need to look at. We can look at this because, again, there's nothing that's these are some of the people, again, that I added to the roster. Certainly Roosh is there now, Paige Van Zant, Stokely Hathaway, Tony Storm. These were all ones that were not in the previous mod. And again, they will be once it's updated. But it's kind of actually 128. Therefore, I don't know why I thought it was 166, but maybe that was just counting everyone on that. So there you have it. There is kind of where we're at starting this AEW save. Again, I know if you've subscribed to this channel, my guess is a big reason why is the WWE 2021 series not going anywhere. I am working on SmackDown right now. It'll be episode number 70. But that will undoubtedly be the next episode that you'll see on this channel. And that should be up in the next day or two. I am working on that. So, I'm trying to sort of catch those points in between busy work sessions to where I can kind of fit some of this in and get some stuff recorded. So trying to do that now. But that will be our next episode. It will be the WWE one. And like I said, hopefully at some point I'll get a chance to play around with that WCW 1998 database a little bit, because as I said previously, I started to look at some things, and it was kind of one of those that I think the mod developer had said it was not going to be updated, and it was just kind of an initial set of data that was put out, and I didn't really look a whole lot into it. But as I started to realize, I'm like, I don't know if this is going to get us in a long-term save when I started to look at some of the data. But I might play around with that. We may bring that back too, but this is a TEW 2020 channel, basically. It's just a fun wrestling gaming channel. So there may be a lot of different things we experiment with, but for now, WWE 2021, still the flagship. Maybe this will be kind of 1A once we get through this AEW stuff here and really start to have some fun with that. But that's kind of where things stand. When we look at kind of where we're at, obviously for AEW, you have a lot of good relationships, New Japan, all that. So that gives a lot more flexibility. WWE is just kind of its own little world, and there's nothing wrong with that, because again, I've loved booking the WWE 2021 series, but I just think there's going to be a lot of opportunity to book differently in AEW, and I think that's sometimes what I look for rather than just doing the same thing all the time. So this will give us a lot of different things we can play around with. But as always, I appreciate you guys and your patience on the channel. This should be a lot of fun. So if you're a WWE fan, hey, you've got going to have 70 episodes of that save. Probably by the time, in the next several days. So you'll have 70 episodes you can kind of dive into if you haven't already. If you're an AEW fan, this kind of gives you a new launching point, because my AEW, I think it was the 2021, actually it was the 2021, that I did a couple years ago. You see a couple of those episodes that I have on the channel, but I only did like 4, and I stopped it there. So that one was very short-lived, but I think now there's a lot more, stuff I can kind of jump into because AEW is completely different in 2020 to where it is now in 2022. So we will have some fun with this and see where it goes. So be sure to subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. And on the next episode of this AEW 2022 series, it will be our first episode of AEW Dynamite for June in week 1.